Hello seekers, welcome to Punneit Astrology, your one-stop astro channel. The planets keep on moving, the transits keep on happening. This is a dynamic universe. But we are born with a particular horoscope that is an imprint of the very instant that we come into consciousness on this planet, which is basically what you call as Kundli, that defines your life path, that defines the architecture of your soul in the body that you are in right now. If you are trying to understand what is a transit and what is a horoscope, it's very simple. Horoscope is nothing but the exact transit of the planets at the time of your birth. That is like a snapshot of the sky, and you click a photo in the sky and you say, okay, this is the alignment at the time of birth. But that alignment will change the very next day, the very next hour, the very next minute, because the planets are moving. The variables are constantly changing. So that is why we overlap the transit on the Kundli and then we figure out the results. And when anything particular happens in the transit that is of some importance, we usually try to address it and figure out directly what is the impact. But there are some instances where the impact is so indirect that we often tend to ignore it. But if we see through the transit, if we see through the layers that are more prominent, that are on the face, we will see that there are multiple layers working behind a transit. Because whenever we try to explain a transit, whenever we try to understand a transit, it's not just that planet alone. It's never in loneliness. It's always when you consider everything around. That is why moon will make its move in the sign of Libra in some time, and after a month again, and then every month moon will make its move in Libra. But every single movement of every particular month, of every year, of every century, of every decade, of every millennium will be different. Because there are so many variables, so many possibilities that can happen, that in spite of the entire age of universe, one thing might not repeat. And that is the beauty of Kundli and the beauty of Jyotish and beauty of astrology. Now, why am I telling you all this? Is this a transit video? Try to understand one thing. When a planet comes under certain effect, the zodiac gets impacted because of that. But when a zodiac gets impacted, that also impacts the planet indirectly. Because say if you are in your own home and someone visits your home, obviously it will disturb your routine, it will change the way you will spend your day. But say you're living in some one country and your home is in some other place and somebody visits your home, it will impact you. You can't say that it won't impact you. Now if that is a friend, a family member who is visiting your place, then you will be impacted differently. And if there is a enemy trying to enter your house, you will be impacted differently. Say you are in city A and your home is in city B, and the home in the city B faces a theft. So wherever you are in A will be disturbed. Suppose A is working in an office. So A has certain responsibility towards that area where that planet is. And we understand that that planet is going to impact the house in a certain way. But the moment the house that the planet rules, owns, gets impacted, the mood of the planet changes. If the mood becomes too bad, the effect can be so pronounced that that person, say that planet in his office, will not perform well, in spite of it being in the bestest possible position. Because if in the mind, it is always running at the back of the mind that my house is under threat, my house is under threat, you can't expect that planet, even in the best possible situation, to work in the perfect manner. Yes, planet will perform their duty, their karma, but it will also throw the impact. It is like the energy will cascade to you. Don't imagine planets as just planets. Take it as vessels of energy. Whatever energy they will receive, they will throw it forward. They will transfer it to humanity. And this is how the flavor of planet changes. This is how sometimes even seeing the best of the transit, the best of the planets in the Kundli, you end up realizing that things are not working out. And that is exactly what is happening with planet Venus. Why? What is wrong with Venus? See, whenever a negative planet crosses the nakshatra ruled by Venus or the zodiac ruled by Venus, Venus will be impacted directly or indirectly. The day Ketu made its move in the sign of Libra, then and there it started impacting Venus greatly. It started changing the pattern of the society, it started changing the pattern of the world, it started impacting the balance, because the prime duty of Shukra is to maintain the balance, the harmony, maintain the equilibrium between good and bad, and also give you necessary resource. When Ketu entered that, it impacted it so much that the balance was toppled in one side. And now in order to balance it on the other side, Venus has to work really very hard. That means wherever Venus will go or transit, irrespective wherever it is, Venus will be tensed. The entire energy will be drawn by the sign of Libra. No matter where the Venus is, it will be drawn by the sign of Libra. That means wherever Venus goes, it will impact the zodiac where it is moving, but it will also impact Libra. So you just need to connect the dot between that two houses. For example, right now, Venus is in the sign of Taurus. In its own house, it's powerful. Because it is powerful, Venus is impacting Libra greatly. There is no aspect. But I will just impact. I will call my friends that please take care of my home. Somebody has, or I want a flight, or I will definitely take some steps to do some sort of transfer of energy to heal my problem. Now, Ketu is a planet that do not function in the way we think in Libra zodiac sign, because Ketu is moksha. Or Ketu is the necessary sacrifice that you will have to give to attain the balance. So whenever the society wants to attain the balance, sacrifice is necessary. Sacrifice of what? Sacrifice of negative things. Sacrifice of negative quality. For a human, you will have to give on something that maybe you wanted from life, but you will have to give up that feeling, because Venus is attachment. But the problem is, because Venus knows that Ketu wants to make you sacrifice an attachment. Say for example, you always wanted to be in a certain position, or be in a certain type of job, or join a certain company, marry a certain individual, or you wanted to be a singer. There is a passion, there is a desire. What is happening here? Ketu is trying to put an end to that. Ketu is trying to revisit the balance. And Venus desperately wants to take control of that. And on the other hand, there is Rahu in Bharani Nakshatra. If you imagine, Venus was impacted greatly from last 1.5 years, because first Rahu was in Taurus and now Ketu is in Libra. So one of the zodiac of Venus is now getting impacted by Rahu or Ketu. So this process is not new. This process started when Rahu entered Taurus zodiac sign. So when Rahu goes in Bharani Nakshatra, Mars also joins Bharani Nakshatra. It starts drawing the power from Venus. Now what does Venus want? What is the sole purpose of Venus? To keep you in Maya. That's the sole purpose of Shukra. When Rahu Mars goes, the desire explodes. And when Venus finds its other house getting impacted by Ketu, that is when the confusion comes. Now what should Venus do? Should Venus fulfill the desire of Rahu? Or should Venus try to compensate the damage created by Ketu? What should Venus do? Because there you can say that there is a rule that when a Ketu goes in a particular house, or Rahu goes in a particular house, it will start behaving like the owner of that house. It will start behaving like the planet with which it sits. I understand all of that. But tell me one thing, how will Ketu behave like Venus? By what logic Ketu can behave like Venus? Only one. If we define selfless love. So what will this Venus do? Venus can make you feel selfless love towards somebody and you will keep on sacrificing. That means you might end up in a wrong relationship. Venus might make you believe that doing something will restore balance of your life and you will keep on doing that activity because Rahu is constantly troubling Venus and Venus wants to listen to Rahu. And you will be so desperate to bring the situation under control that the steps that you take might not be authentic. And in that case, if that happens, remember Saturn will be in the sign of Capricorn, which is actually, see, we tend to ignore Capricorn. Capricorn is a zodiac sign that actually controls Taurus and Libra. Now you will be surprised how. Let's take a very simple example. Capricorn is career, it is the 10th house, it is your livelihood. Now if you have a livelihood, then you will say that you deserve marriage. If you will have livelihood, then you will say that you will deserve money. So both 2nd and 7th can actually be fructified. It will be given to you when there is a blessing of Saturn from the 10th house. And this Saturn is retrograde in the 10th house, means Saturn will want you to revisit all areas of life which is controlled by Taurus and Libra. I will explain the retrograde Saturn effects in another video, but this is a very different kind of understanding I want you to get. So this Venus is getting troubled a lot. This Venus don't know how to implement Maya. There's too much of spirituality, so the impact of Ketu was so strong that Rahu had to counter it, because Rahu Ketu are two polar opposite. They are one but polar opposite. So there also can be a false sense in your mind that you are invincible. Say for example, a student. He does not study any chapter. He thinks he will become successful. And he fails. Because that is Rahu creating a desire that nothing will happen. I know I have learned. But Ketu, on the other hand, and Venus attempt to fulfill Ketu, comes into picture and Ketu is like, no, you haven't. Because you have not revisited. You did not sacrifice your sleep, your joy, your video game to study the chapter that you were supposed to. And remember, when Rahu is in Bharani, Saturn is 10th from itself. So, does not matter what thoughts come in your mind, if this Saturn, which is retrograde in Capricorn, does not support you, then all the houses of Venus will be impacted because of this. So imagine the web of energy. Imagine the triggers where it begins and where it actually lands. And by no way you can connect with one single planet unless you understand that something is wrong with Venus. So anyone who is desperate for money, anyone who is desperate for wealth, anyone who is desperate for love, and desperate for anything that is connected to Maya will face challenges. That is a pattern that you will see. If you are just silent, if you are just going with the flow, if you are doing your duty, let the desire come. You also think about the consequence. If there is a desire in your mind, you have to think about the consequence of your action, and then you plan, revisit your action after a lot of planning, going back to the drawing board, coming back. After that, if you implement something, you are fine. That means definitely there will be some sort of delay, in spite of Venus being in the bestest of position. Because the more strong the Venus is, the more the desire will be. Because the role of Venus cannot be fulfilled by Ketu. The role of Venus can be fulfilled by Rahu. Create a desire to be in this Maya. And that is why we see that the world is heading towards financial crisis of food, which is second house ruled by Venus. There is so much of crisis in relationship around the world. People are getting isolated, the balance is getting tipped off, power struggle throughout the world. What is this? This is the damage done to Venus. And this is a self-inflicted damage by Venus. Because see, this is the planet's nature. It's an automated nature to control the process. If we expect Venus to become spiritual, then I don't know what is the right way to do that, because Venus is a planet of love. Bhakti yoga can be one way you can get connected with Shukra and the divine Shukra, which is exalted Venus. But Venus cannot represent Raj Yoga or the discipline of life or the fixed pattern of life. So remember, if you're running a Venus Mahadasha, Venus Antardasha, if your Venus is impacted, if your Venus is afflicted, if you are a Taurus moon, Taurus ascendant, Libra moon, Libra ascendant, you have a moon with Venus, you have Venus on ascendant, by any way, current situation in your life has a direct impact of Venus. You need to be very careful of what you demand in life and how you proceed in life. Because wherever Venus goes, it will try to fill the gap of Libra. That will be his prime duty right now. Until Rahu is in Bharani. Once Rahu goes out of Bharani Nakshatra, there will be some relief because there won't be any agitation on the planet. Now the question is, who draws the power? Bharani or Venus? Well, Bharani is connected to Venus, Bharani is connected to feminine energy. So definitely, who is the Karaka of feminine energy? Karakas, you can say planets are the players, they are the doers here. So the doer is always the one that gets impacted because he's the one who is going to bring a change. Nakshatras and Rashis are static fields, but planets are variable fields. Planet changes their position. They are like the connection of the machine. You change one plug, you put it to another plug, the entire output will change. So try to control on the Venus energies, which means you have to be slightly conservative, go minimalistic, don't spend a lot unnecessarily. Try to be harmonious, try to be inclusive, try to bring Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that emotion of one world family within you. Try to be more collective consciousness. Try to be close to nature. And try to follow the path of Bhakti Yoga. Just chant Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. This will improve. See, Venus and Ketu is selfless love. If you show some empathy towards society, if you show that selfless love, if you heal the animals, if you heal the people, if you heal the planet, that is when Venus and Ketu connect. That is the only way Venus and Ketu can get connected. Spiritual love. Because on one way, Venus is trying to put you in this matrix and Ketu is trying to pull you out of this matrix. It is an antardvanda, inner war. Few people will understand this inner war and will choose to be on the side of the Maya. Few people will understand and will choose to be on the side of the Moksha. But what about the rest 99% of the population of the planet? They don't know anything. That will be stuck in between, trying to struggle on day-to-day life, on day-to-day resources. So you must understand where you're headed. Venus is about luxury, it's about beauty, it's about anything that is associated with Maya. So anything that is material, you have to conserve it. Save soil, save water, save air, save the resource, use it wisely, let the emotions come, let the desire come, but do not implement the desire without getting the acknowledgement of Ketu, because whatever Rahu is trying to tell you, Ketu will counter it immediately. This is the time in life when Rahu and Ketu are showing actual opposite polarities. But remember, they never work alone. They always work in unity. That means this is like a separating force, like a grand separation happening. And you must choose the path of light. You must choose the path of divinity. And you will raise higher and higher and higher and higher. And Mars, when it enters Bharani Nakshatra, is only going to accelerate this process. Actually, Mars will kick off this process. Right now, this process is not yet seen. Mars will kick it off. Because Mars is the planet of desire. It will give the necessary... It's like the circuit is on, the mobile is there, the switch is there, but there is no charge in the battery. When Mars enters, it is like you plug the laptop, plug the mobile in the wall socket, and now everything is in action. To heal Venus, pray to Mahalakshmi. Support people around you. Show love. Be careful how you speak, how you show the body language, so that nobody is hurt. The language of love will propagate in this time, and this is the only language that will create a balance. Otherwise, Ketu will push a lot of people out of this Maya, and that can disturb the matrix, that can disturb the balance. And you will also see that if you do not understand, if we as a human don't understand all this, there is going to be a resource crunch, water scarcity for the next 3, 4, 5 years. Because it will act as a reminder for humanity that what you are right now feeling scarcity of was actually provided free by the nature. Think about it.